So because my time zones are all messed up, we are talking about this trade and signing a day after it happened. I apologize, but this is a pretty good opportunity for Detroit Red Wings fans to see what they have in their newest acquisition from Nashville. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nashville Predators have traded forward Sutter Muzzatti to the Detroit Red Wings for future considerations. It was then further announced on the Detroit Red Wings website that Detroit has signed Muzzatti to a 2-year entry-level contract. Now this is a pretty cool move, and it's one that I don't think any Red Wings fan should be complaining about. Sutter Muzzatti is an NCAA giant. 6'6", 229 pounds. This guy's huge. However, if you go over to the NHL's website, they have Muzzatti listed at 6'8", out of Okemos, Michigan, USA. I mean, we all saw how big of a fan favorite Elmer Soderblom was during his time with the Detroit Red Wings. Sutter Muzzatti, while it's not necessarily guaranteed he becomes a Red Wing long-term and he's all elite and he does this stuff and he produces points, none of that is guaranteed, but because we saw Soderblom work his way up from being a late-round draft pick to inevitably suiting up in Detroit and becoming a fan favorite, Sutter Muzzatti has a chance to follow a similar path as Soderblom did once upon a time. Muzzatti is 23 years old, June 28th, 2003 is the birth date, 6'6" or 6'8" if you want to go off the NHL.com website, 229 pounds, initially a 5th-round draft pick by the Nashville Predators, and a guy who ended up signing with Detroit upon getting traded. This previous season, for the University of Notre Dame, Muzzatti scored 32 points in 37 games, 13 goals and 19 assists. Earlier on, he was playing for RPI and didn't really have the best overall production there. The fact is, though, his development and draft profile has been really interesting to follow. Because he's a June 03 birth date, he would have been eligible for the 2021 NHL Entry Draft, but back in that time frame, he was playing in the NAHL. 13 points in 30 games, so definitely not draft-worthy numbers. Sure, he had one game with the NTDP where he had scored a goal, but it wasn't enough to really put him on the map. The next 2 seasons saw him play once more in the NAHL and then inevitably make his NCAA debut, where as a 20-year-old, he had 22 points in 35 games. That was good enough to see him get drafted by Nashville. They saw a big dude, they saw a freshman, an older freshman, but still a freshman nonetheless, go out there and put up some pretty okay numbers. So he got drafted, and now it's been 3 years since then, and he posted up a pretty good season with a much better NCAA team, and now he'll be heading over to Grand Rapids or Detroit, depending on what happens. Take a look at the press release posted on the Detroit Red Wings website over here. The Red Wings acquired forward Sutter Muzzatti from Nashville in exchange for future consideration, so for free. Additionally, they have signed him to a 2-year ELC. Muzzatti, 23, spent the 25-26 season at the University of Notre Dame and ranked among the team leaders with goals. He was tied for second overall in assists, and was second overall in points. He was 4th in penalty minutes with 3 power play goals, which was tied for 4th, 1 shorthanded goal, tied for 1st, 96 shots, which was 4th, and a 13.5 shooting percentage, which was 2nd on the team in 37 games. The 6'6", 241-pound forward transferred to Notre Dame after recording all the points that he did with RPI. Initially selected by Nashville in the 5th round of 2023's NHL Entry Draft, Muzzatti was named to the ECAC All-Rookie Team in 22-23. He is the son of Jason Muzzatti, who had appeared in 62 NHL games between the pipes with the Calgary Flames, Hartford Whalers, New York Rangers, and San Jose Sharks from 1993 to 1998. Now, the rest of this just goes over Muzzatti's history, but if we want to actually dive into what Muzzatti plays like, well, we are in luck because the Elite Prospects Scouting Report Draft Guide does have an article back from 2023 that talks about Muzzatti and what he could potentially become. We have that open for you over here as well on the YouTube channel. Let's go out there and read what the NHL Draft Guide says about Muzzatti. The son of a former first-round pick and journeyman goaltender Jason Muzzatti, Sutter Muzzatti hopes to take the less-traveled road to the NHL as a two-time re-entry in the 2023 draft. The draw here is obvious. Muzzatti is a 6'5" center with a reasonable amount of skill and two-way diligence who has generated offense at a respectable clip as a freshman with RPI at 19. Players with that profile, or like profiles, often draw at least some level of NHL interest, be it at the draft or as an NCAA free agent. Of course, the catch is all too familiar for Muzzatti as well. Like many players with his build, his skating form is a significant obstacle, limited by a heavy set of boots, a wide recovery, and a lack of depth. The usual qualifier, that he is decently quick with a little bit of runway, doesn't even apply here. He's just plain slow. No way around it. That lack of pace is evident in every facet of his game too. Muzzatti attempts all of his dangles at a glide, with little deceptive posturing or footwork to set up each maneuver. He often identifies the right passing option, but lacks the timing or even the touch to connect on many of these plays. Stuck with a shot that registers as a below-average weapon, suddenly one runs out of ways to project the Engineers forward as an offensive threat in pro hockey. The hope for Muzzatti is that considerable development as a skater allows him to leverage his frame, adequate puck skills, and defensive intelligence and habits to a bottom-of-the-lineup role in pro hockey. It's not a particularly ambitious play at the draft, though, so don't be surprised if he has to get there via UFA status. Now, Muzzatti did inevitably get drafted. He was taken, as we had said, 5th round, 143rd overall by Nashville in 2023. But you could see the player grades here for a guy that was in his draft plus 2 year. 3.5 out of 10 for skating, 4 out of 10 for shooting, 3.5 for passing, 4.5 for puck handling, 4.5 hockey sense, and 6 physical. This isn't really the easiest guy to project to having some sort of an NHL career, but if we just go out there and assume that he has improved some of these assets in his game whilst playing at Notre Dame this season, you would definitely hope that that allows Sutter Muzzatti to become somewhat of an NHL player at some point down the line. I mean, he is signed to a 2-year entry-level contract, so he's got a lot of time to showcase his skills and really proclaim that what he was able to develop in the NCAA is going to translate to professional hockey ranks. Same with Elmer Soderblom, I guess, although he was already playing pro in Sweden before coming over. Either way, the Red Wings made this trade yesterday, they made the signing yesterday as well. My time zones are all messed up, which is why we're making this video in the morning of what is today going to be? Friday the 21st? Apologies for the late commentary, but still wanted to get it out there because Red Wings trades are always fun to go out there and analyze. You can't say no to a free guy from Michigan who's 6'6" or 6'8" if you look at the Detroit Red Wings website, coming over to your team for essentially nothing. That's not a bad deal in the slightest. So Sutter Muzzatti is the newest Red Wing. Let me know in the comments section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this Recherche Roll Sign On. And bye.